Well, a lot going on with United Airlines. You probably have seen the video where they have taken the individual, dragging him through the aisle and getting him off the plane. So what happened? Well, we've all been on flights, and presumably we've seen where they've made that announcement, said, hey, what do you think? Does anyone want to kind of fly tomorrow or later, or we're going to give you some money to do that, a voucher for a future flight. And if you do that, because we've oversold the plane. We've heard it time and time again. Historically, they'll start at a number and keep working that number up until someone says, yeah, I want to do that. I'd rather fly in 2 hours or maybe even tomorrow and get that voucher for future travel. Well, in what happened here, this flight, they needed to move some pilots around, so some new people came on. They were oversold anyway, and 3 people out of the 4 who had to leave left, and 1 guy didn't leave, and TSA authority dragged him off the plane. So, can the airlines oversell seats? And the answer is they absolutely can. Can they forcibly remove someone when they've selected you to be the one to leave the plane? So how do they select you? First of all, they create their own criteria. Each airlines figures out, hey, probably the first class people are pretty safe. If you're a frequent flyer, pretty safe. But it might be the last 4, in this case, 4 people to check in. If you were to check in and arrive at the airport last, you're going to be the first one who's out. Or maybe you have a certain other criteria that they've selected. You've never flown the airline before. Well, I guess maybe you'll never fly again, right? But there can be different criteria. As long as they do it uniformly, they can do that. They can have you leave the plane. It's called an involuntary bump. Nobody's agreed to do it. They tell you to leave. Well, I think they've got a problem. I know they've got a public relations nightmare. But remember, TSA can remove you from the flight if you are drunk, if you're argumentative, if you're causing all kinds of problems. They can, everyone loves to see those people leave the plane. Nobody wants to be on a plane with someone who's causing a disturbance. But of course, this individual was just sitting in his seat, right? He's sitting in his seat. They select him. He says, I'm not leaving. I'm a doctor. I got patients tomorrow, and I have to go. And probably they should have handled it a different way. They should have said, hey, we still need somebody else. The person we selected is a doctor. We'll start offering $1,000, $2,000 to get people to voluntarily leave the plane, which is what they should have done. They didn't do it. But we're going to see what happens. I think there's some kind of an assault and battery scenario here. I don't think that they can just grab this guy and move him off for being silent and having been asked to leave the plane. And even if technically they could do it, it was just a real bad idea. So the news clip has gone viral. There are different groups that are not using United Airlines. Asian American groups and some of the international Asian groups are saying, we're going to boycott the airline. So only as good as the people on the ground, and the folks in the plane that day made a mistake. Paul Harding checking in.